Welcome back, everybody. 866-582-9933. That's the number to call. If you're listening to the podcast, 855-347-3696. That's the number to call to get information about the health opportunity, the wealth opportunity, and everything having to do with either. 855-347-3696. Let's give a great big Fire Your MD Now round of applause for Mike Randolph, one of our favorite guests here on Fire Your MD Now. Come on, give it to me, folks. Come on, you can do better than that. Come on now. Yeah, that's better. That's right. That's how we roll here, baby. Mike Randolph, Senior Executive Vice President of Marketing with Youngevity. Welcome aboard, Mike. How you doing today?
You know what? I know that was recorded, but I still love it. I got a big smile on my face.
What's going on, man? Give me some Youngevity corporate news. Give me some news, man, that I can use. Give me some news that I can use. What's cracking?
Well, let me tell you what's going on. I mean, there's a buzz around here. The hallways are full of people carrying these crazy magazines around, Doc. I don't know if you've seen it. The Success from Home magazine featuring yours truly and the rest of Youngevity will be on the newsstands, I believe, late June into July. But we've got some early release copies, and that is more fun than you can imagine. You know, I know we all love to brag about our kids, but, you know, when other people brag about our kids, that is something really special. And you look at this magazine, it's like people are bragging about our kids. I love it.
Well,
in, Direct Selling News, we're featured in the May edition of Direct Selling News. I don't know how it could possibly get any better here at Youngevity Corporate, other than, of course, you picking up steaks from that crazy place you live in the middle of Illinois, and you know what, move up to New Hampshire. The winters aren't as bad here.
Yeah, we can go climb Mount Monadnock together. I have a funny story about Mount Monadnock, which is, by the way, for those of us geographically challenged, Mount Monadnock is, I think, the most climbed mountain in the world, if not number 2. Mount Fuji might be number 1. But Mount Monadnock is a mountain in southern New Hampshire, and it's very easy to climb, relatively speaking. It's a beautiful view. It's on the Appalachian Trail, and it's a nice little day's excursion, right? You know, of course, if you live in the Rocky Mountains, you're going to think Mount Monadnock is just a little hill, but nonetheless. Years ago, I was in college at the University of Massachusetts doing my pre-med stuff in Amherst, Massachusetts, and a bunch of us got, we got an idea. We got to get out of town. It's a long weekend. Let's go climb Mount Monadnock. So we did. So I had a 1965 Dodge Dart, right? And I loaded it up with 4 of us. We set out before sunrise. I don't know why we did that. I think we wanted, I don't know. But in any event, I'm driving, everybody else is sleeping. I crossed the border into New Hampshire, and the sun starts to come up, and people start coming out of their houses to get the mail and sweep the leaves or whatever. And I swear to God, every single person that I saw when I'm driving down the road was at least 100 pounds overweight. I mean, at least 100 pounds overweight. And everybody in the car started to wake up. You know, the sun's coming up. And I look at my traveling companions, and I say, I'm going to bet everybody in this car $20 that the next person that we see, the next person on the street, is going to be at least 100 pounds overweight. And they said, oh, what are you talking about? Glidden said, you're out of your mind. You know, what are you talking about, this, that, and the other thing. We made the bet. And 2 minutes later, I was $60 richer. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I'll never forget it. I don't know why. It just happened that way. But I think, in that part of New England, I used to think it was that part of New England that bred people who, were overweight, the cold winters and everything. But I got to tell you, man, it's all around the world. In the last 20 years in the United States, 30% of our children now are obese. 30% are obese, and that happened in the last 20 years. I mean, it is a tide of biblical proportions bearing down on us, and Youngevity has the answer for all of this nonsense. Which is why Team Glidden says, and I know you guys in corporate might not like it, but we say it anyway, mission before commission, baby, because that's what we are all about, mission before commission.
You're killing me, Doc. You know what, I was just thinking, you mentioned that little story about Mount Monadnock. That is really hard to say. I caught an episode of Lassie the other day. Yes, in its, I don't know, 25th round of syndication. And I never realized how tough we used to be as a country. There was a little chubby kid in the show, and I think his nickname was Porky, and they called him Porky, or Chubby or something like that. It was pretty abrupt. I know you could never get away with it in today's political climate. I figure if you have a skinny kid on TV today, they probably can get away with calling him skinny or something like that. But my, how things have changed. You know, I was even flipping through my old yearbook from, dare I say, 32 years ago when I graduated from high school. And there weren't, even then, Doc, there weren't too many kids that I would say were overweight, much less obese. And today, it seems to be the other way around. I've noticed that when I buy clothes, they fit differently. They're lying about the sizes of clothes now, so that people feel thinner than they really are. And it's absolutely crazy. You know, we give out blazers at our conventions, and I keep having to order smaller and smaller sizes, because if people are honest with their size and I order a jacket that size, it fits them like a tent. And it's just, you know, what is wrong with us that we've decided to redefine the inch rather than fix the problem?
Well, that's because they don't know how to fix the problem. And this is the thing. This is the thing. This is the whole thing, Mike. This is what it all boils down to. And this is one of those concepts that it's hard for people to wrap their minds around, but once they wrap their minds around it and they get it, you know, they're in the velvet grasp of truth forever. Medical science is a vast domain, and the piece of the pie of medical science that MDs are trained in is just that. It's one tiny piece of the pie of medical science, and MDs are trained to look at human physiology with a particular set of filters. But the problem is that the MDs, by virtue of their education and the way that they're trained, they don't know that they're looking at physiology through a set of filters. They think that they're looking at physiology through a completely clear glass, but they're not. And because of their a priori built-in prejudices that they're not even aware of, they have thrown the baby out with the bathwater, and they are articulating remedies for a complex system of interrelated parts for the part. They've completely miscombobulated the whole thing. There's a new word I just made up. How'd you like that? Miscombobulated. Their viewpoint, their perspective is flawed, but they don't know that their perspective is flawed, and because their perspective is flawed, all of their therapeutics are flawed, which is why, under their tutelage, you know, we're going to hell in a handbasket. I mean, for goodness sake, the leading cause of death is medical treatment. The leading cause of death, the leading cause of bankruptcy, medical treatment. You've got to be kidding me. The only reason that there hasn't been public outrage and, you know, hangings in the town square is because everybody in this country has become culturally conditioned to believe that the MD has a clear glass, and that it's physiology that's complicated. It's anatomy and biochemistry that's complicated. It's genetics that's complicated. It's the pathogenesis of chronic disease that's complicated. No, it's not. It's easy. Healing is easy. It's easy. And this is why longevity is so very important. And this is why we say mission before commission. And I'd like to talk about this because, you know, I've been hanging out for the last 4 years with a number of different groups around longevity, and I really cut my teeth on the lecture circuit with the boys and girls in Montana, especially Todd and Blake. I lectured, I've done, I don't know, lots and lots and lots of lectures all around the western part of this country for the Total Nutrition Group. And I've got to tell you, the one thing that I learned from those guys is when you pitch longevity, health first and wealth second, you have customers and business builders for life. I asked Blake. I said, Blake Graham, one of the founders. He was actually one of the people that first started following Dr. Wallach around the country when it wasn't socially acceptable to do so. I said, Blake, how much money did you make in your first year of networking with Longevity? And he thought about it, and he said, you know what? I don't know, because I'm still making money. I said, what the heck are you talking about? He said, I still have people in my organization that I enrolled in my first year, and they're still buying stuff today. And my head exploded. And the reason that we have such a low recidivism rate, the reason that hardly anybody drops out of Longevity, is because Dr. Wallach's methods and Dr. Wallach's products work. And you can't get them anywhere else. You just can't. You can't get his stuff anywhere else. This is not another super juice company. This is a real-time way to help people recover their health and get out from underneath the wheel. And we are heavily underneath the wheel, man. And I'm talking way too much. We got 1 minute 26 seconds left in this segment here, Mr. Randolph. What do you think about that?
Well, you know what? I think what you're talking about is just as true in the corporate America scheme of things. People are just as brainwashed, just as prejudiced, just as ill-informed about how to go out there and provide for themselves and provide for their families and build a future. They're just as uninformed about that as they are about what you're talking about. And it all has to do with the systems that we've been taught, the things we've been exposed to, what we've plugged into. And I remember the first time I saw you speak, you started out with a little story about the fact that once upon a time, for all intents and purposes, the earth was flat. You know, if enough people believe it, at least from a certain point of view, it becomes so. And, you know, until enough people don't spill off the edge, until enough people don't fall into the abyss, we have to start looking at things differently. And I love being a part of the revolution, not just on the health and wellness side, but on the making money side as well.
Gotta love it. Ladies and gentlemen, reality by consensus. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Today is May 28th, and we are talking to Mike Randolph. And if you're watching the live feed via my website, I pulled up on the screen a copy of the Success from Home magazine. I got to tell you something, Mike. When you combine the two simple truths, you know, hard pills to swallow nonetheless, but once you swallow these pills, life starts to get better. We have been lied to by corporate America about how to acquire wealth, and we have been lied to by corporate America about how to acquire health. Longevity answers both of these needs with magnificence, and this, in my way of looking at things, is why the company is growing in leaps and bounds.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely the truth. You know, it's amazing that we live on the edge here at Longevity. We're on the edge of two very controversial things, one being the pursuit of health, the other being the pursuit of wealth. And yes, the two can mix, and they mix very, very well. As you mentioned earlier, you know, when you show someone how to feel better, you get a customer for life. When you show someone how to do better, you get a business builder for life. And, you know, we have so many people that they're both feeling better and doing better, multi-million-dollar income earners. In fact, if you flip through that magazine, you'll see just a sampling of some of the folks that have succeeded financially with Longevity. The pages are riddled with them. There's a couple articles not only about our business success, but what I love about that magazine, Doc, is that we didn't write that. I mean, you know, we enjoyed participating in putting that magazine together, but all we got to do was be like bobbleheads and just nod our heads saying, yeah, go ahead, because it is a real live magazine. It's not an internally generated publication, and they put the stories together. They brought Robert Kiyosaki into the fold. They brought John Maxwell into the fold. They put the articles together on why it is absolutely essential to supplement our diets and why it's absolutely essential to supplement our incomes as well. It's all right there in one nice, tidy little package with a glossy finish. There's, I think, about 100 pages in that magazine, well worth its weight in gold and platinum and silver, because if you pay attention to what's between those covers, your life is going to change, and you're going to become enlightened on two different fronts. I got to mention one quick thing before I hand this back over to you. I was flipping through some videos the other day, and I came upon one that I just had to watch, and it was from an MD. I know that you and MDs typically don't get along, but this guy has gone after 20 years in medicine. He's kind of gone on a crusade, and he says, we make mistakes. And when he says we make mistakes, he means medical doctors make mistakes. He goes, why don't we get to talk about it? And he wants to reform medicine from the standpoint of at least as the medical community getting them willing to admit that they are human and they make mistakes. This video, he quotes the fact that there's millions of people that are hurt, injured, and killed each and every year because of just the humanity of medical doctors.
Well, he's got it. I mean, it's the tip of the iceberg, the leading cause of death in the United States. 780,000 people a year are killed. And, it's great. That's all well and good. And because one of the things that keeps that profession from moving forward is their hubris and their arrogance. They are completely unwilling to look at the stuff that they get wrong. They just don't do it. I mean, it's not inside their framework, and so rather than blame themselves, they blame the patient, right? The reason that you're overweight is because you have the bad gene. It's because you're lazy. It's not because you have a bad doctor. It's not because the doctor doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, which is in fact the reality. It's because it's your fault. So having MDs do a little bit of introspection, it's always a good thing. But look, man, a leopard is never going to change his stripes. They're always going to be a conservative. It's the rare conservative that becomes a liberal and vice versa, right? It's the rare Buddhist that becomes a born-again Christian and vice versa. If we're going to wait for them to come around, we're all going to freaking die, which is why longevity is your answer. FireYourMDNow.com. Click on the longevity link and join Team Glidden. Coming back with Mike Randolph after this. Don't even think about touching that dial. Talking to Mike Randolph from the Longevity Company. So, Mike, people often tell me, look, Doc, I don't know what you know, and I don't know what Dr. Wallach knows, and I can't do that. I don't even know how to spell vitamin. How can I possibly have a successful longevity business? And the answer is, well, because it's easy. The job is not to become the expert. The job is to bring people to the expert. And we've been hoodwinked with two big cultural myths here. 3. Number 1, accumulating wealth is hard. Number 2, accumulating health is only possible through the administrations of MDs. And number 3, healing is a complicated, sophisticated process that can only take place in multi-million-dollar high-tech facilities. It's nonsense. Healing is easy. We have a simple system that we roll out, folks. If you can talk to 10 people a week, lend out 10 copies of the Success from Home magazine, lend out 10 CDs, invite 10 people to a webinar, invite 10 people to a phone call, send 10 people a link to a video. That's all you have to do. I mean, literally, that's all you have to do. You have to learn the compensation plan and learn how to plug people into the system, man. But I'm telling you, man, this is the best kept secret in finances, since, medical nutrition is to medicine. And like Benjamin Franklin said, there are very few things as remarkable as compound interest. Well, I think one of them is a networked marketing business. What do you think?
Well, compound interest is not that much different than compound efforts. And it was, it depends on who you quote. You can go back to J. Paul Getty. You can go back to John Rockefeller, but they all understood that they would much rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 people than 100% of their own efforts. You know, one of the big lies told by corporate America is that it's all about you, that there is such a thing as a self-made millionaire. That is one of the biggest lies that there ever was. I don't care who you take any successful person, and if they say they're a self-made millionaire, I'm going to show you a fool and a liar, because there is no such thing. It always takes a team of people to create a $1 million and multi-million-dollar earner, and it's no different here at Youngevity. What makes us different is we give anyone a chance to get there. We give anyone who's willing to stand up, stick their head up, and put some efforts into it, we're going to give them a chance to get that brass ring as well. And there is no reason to become the expert. There's no reason to learn everything about everything, because all you have to do here is follow the system. And one of the greatest tools in that toolbox is that Success from Home magazine. It has the experts in it. You don't need to be the expert. You don't have to be Picasso. You just need to take people to view the painting.
Well, see, this is it. And, you know, I've noticed there's this peculiar sociological phenomenon that I've noticed. I have been talking to a number of people in their 20s, right? People in their 20s. They just graduated college. They're thinking about what to do next. Most all of them are considering some type of grad school or, you know, getting a master's or whatever. And I have a conversation with them about network marketing and the Youngevity business, and about how much money they can be making a year, 2 years from now with a simple $500 one-time investment. And their eyes roll into their back of their heads, and it's like I'm talking to a wall, because there seems to be some type of built-in prejudice against this approach, and the only reason that can possibly exist is because people don't know about it. People just don't know about it. People think it's a complicated thing. It's this, oh, you know, you have to stock your garage up with thousands and thousands of dollars of stuff that you're never going to use. It's not like that at all. I mean, it's really, honest to God, Mike, if people understood what we're up to here and what the compensation plan is about, how easy it is to apply the simple system. I mean, we would have too many Youngevity distributors. I don't know if such a thing is possible, but people would be swarming to us. I think what I've noticed here is what you're speaking about is this cultural conditioning that everybody's so deep inside of that they don't even know that they're deep inside of it, and they just can't even consider the possibility that it could be that simple, that easy to make that much money and to help that many people. People just can't conceptualize that.
Well, I think there's this, they think that it requires some grandiose amount of knowledge. I mean, we're brainwashed into learning more and more and more and more. And, you know, there's something I learned early in my career, and that is the A students work for the C students and the B students teach. And I don't want to insult anybody that's going to college, especially folks that have done well. I did very well in college. I was an A student, and it took me a while to figure out the fact that all the guys that I worked for in all of my corporate America JOBs, the most successful ones of them were the ones that didn't go to school. And I don't mean don't go to school. I think everyone needs to be exposed to that. Just be realistic in realizing that that book education, that degree hanging on the wall, is not the secret to wealth. There's other things that apply, and sometimes folks that weren't indoctrinated in that system have a better chance of grabbing that brass ring and seeing success than those that are very well indoctrinated in the system.
Well, yeah, it's interesting to talk about, isn't it? You know, I was talking to somebody about the PhD program and the roots of that and where that all came from, and the fact of the matter is that doctoral degree granting programs, I don't care if it's a medical doctoral, an MD, an ND, a DO, or a chiropractic, or if it's a PhD, the intention of the program is to get you to think in a certain way. It's to put you inside of a box. It's to create parameters inside of which you think, hence the term thinking outside the box, right? But the more educated we become, the more closed our brains become, and the harder it is for us to think outside of the box, especially, you know, now that, if you become a doctor, for goodness sake, even as a PhD, there's all of this money and all of this time that you've invested in all of this thinking, and you're just going to throw that away overnight? It ain't going to happen, baby. So I think that you're absolutely right. That you have to unlearn a whole bunch of stuff before you can really have a shot at grasping that brass ring, because you have to be into this. It's network marketing. You have to do work. There's stuff that you have to do, and you can either do it begrudgingly or you can do it joyously. You can either embrace the discipline or you can fight it. And those people that embrace this simple system, I mean, they just take off. I mean, for goodness sake, this company grew 400% in 2012. Are you kidding me? Every month for the last, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 months now, Longevity's broken sales records. They're now in the top 100 network marketing companies in the world. I mean, this doesn't happen by fiat. This doesn't happen by accident. It happens for a reason. And the reason is a lot of people are wrapping their brains around this simple system and applying it and applying it and applying it and waking up 6 months later with twice as much money in their bank account as they even thought possible, and then it just gets better and better and better. And you know what, Mike? All of this financial nonsense, all of this real estate meltdown, all of these banksters stealing our money left and right and nobody going to jail, for goodness sakes, HSBC was proven that they were laundering drug cartel money, Mexican drug cartel money, but they didn't do anything because they're too big to fail. All of these knuckleheads robbing us blind. It had to take bankruptcy after bankruptcy after bankruptcy and businesses failing left, right, and center for people to kind of snap out of their old delusion and think, hey, you know what? This way isn't working anymore. I'm going to try another way. And the longevity of all the other ways, I can't possibly imagine any system of wealth building better than longevity.
It doesn't exist. It does not exist, Doc, because you really need three people to always win every time there's a transaction. And with longevity, the customer always wins because we truly have the best products on the market. The company always wins because we're just set up that way, and our distributors always win. As long as there's a win in all three columns, you can't lose. And look at any company out there, the ones you're talking about failing because they're too big, they just moved all the wins into the wrong columns, and yes, they will fail. And the reason that we won't fail, the reason we haven't failed in going on 17 years is because we always make sure that the customer wins, the distributor wins, and the company wins.
I mean, the company hasn't been late with a check in 17 years. When I found that out, my head exploded again. I mean, that's just remarkable. You know, there are a lot of companies. Well, I don't know a lot, but there's a handful of companies. They'll rob from Peter to pay Paul. You know, they'll rob from May's profits to pay their distributors for April. Longevity doesn't do that. Longevity has an extremely solid financial track record. They've got, a AAA rating from Dun & Bradstreet? I mean, their credit rating is off the charts because they are a very tightly run ship. And, you know, that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick also. So when you put these three things together, a great health opportunity, a great wealth opportunity, all supported by an institution that is extremely financially stable, I got to tell you, buddy, there ain't nothing but blue skies coming in the days ahead. And if people aren't on board with longevity, I don't know what to tell them. You know, it's just because they don't know any better. And that's why those of us who are so inclined, you know, ring this bell as much as we possibly can just to show people, hey, you know what, there is a better way, and it's called longevity.
Great stuff, Doc. And, you know, I'm sitting here, I get goosebumps when I think about the future because just as, hundreds of years ago when people started to realize that the earth wasn't really flat and that you could go all the way around it and there were all kinds of other things out there and we didn't live in that little narrow box, if you will. When people started to figure that out, it created not just a revolution, not just a renaissance, but a complete change. And somehow we've let ourselves, over the last few hundred years, we let ourselves get taken away from the entrepreneurial spirit, taken away from self-reliance, taken away from responsibility for our own lives. And I think we have another revolution, another renaissance coming, because if you're like the people that I talk to every day, they are sick and tired of being sick and tired and broke. And when you show them what's going on behind the curtain, everyone gets a little angry at first. Why did they lie to me all this time? But then you're empowered because, being enlightened to the truth is an empowering thing.
And that's what we are all about here, ladies and gentlemen. Once you have experienced the truth, you are in its velvet grasp forever. Let's give it up one more time for Mike Randolph. Thanks a million, Mike. It's always a pleasure having you here, buddy. I'll see you next time.
My honor as always. Thanks, Doc.
Hey, stick around. I'm taking your calls when we come back. Going to talk to Chris from Michigan. He's been hanging around like my best friend. Stay tuned, Chris. I'm coming to you next. I guess it is just another Manic Monday. Going to go right to the phones. Talk to Chris from Michigan. Hey, Chris. Thanks for hanging on. You are live.
Hey, Doc. How's it going?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the patience. How can I help?
Well, my dad had his fourth heart attack on May 18th. He had a quadruple bypass about 20 years ago.
Ouch.
And, he's had 3 stents put in on the 20th of May. I asked if it was, collapsing or something. No, it was all plaque buildup. We asked, what can he do to prevent this from continuing? And he was told to eat a heart-healthy diet. That's pretty much it. And we're like, what does that mean? And they're like, heart-healthy diet. And I said, I don't know what that means. Regardless of that, he has, I don't know the ratio thing, but it's there's numbers that they gave, a normal is pumping at 55, and he's pumping at 35. But he's he's up walking around. We put some boats in this weekend, so he's willing to give it a try. So please help.
Okay, well, all right. So glad that you found me. Glad that you called. So here's the deal, right? And again, thank God for Dr. Wallach. Wallach published a paper in 72, I think it was. Might have been 76. Don't quote me on that. It was sometime in the early 70s. And he proved that coronary artery disease, plaque buildup in arteries, is caused not by cholesterol, is caused by inflammation in the arteries. It doesn't have anything at all to do with cholesterol. You could suck all of the cholesterol out of your body, purify it, and shoot it into my body, and nothing bad would happen. Cholesterol is not the problem. Cholesterol actually is the solution. Your body uses cholesterol to bandage the parts of the artery that become inflamed and damaged to keep you from bleeding to death. So your father's cholesterol has kept him alive. The MDs are going to kill him. So the recommendation here, right, is to eliminate foods that are pro-inflammatory. Eliminate foods that are causing inflammation in the artery. I mean, you wouldn't put diesel fuel in an unleaded tank, right? I mean, you wouldn't put diesel fuel, or you wouldn't put regular fuel in a boat that had a diesel engine. Yanmar diesel. You're going to put regular gasoline in that. It's going to run like crap if it runs at all, but you put the right fuel in and it runs like a charm. So the recommendation here is to, number one, stop eating stuff that's causing inflammation, that's causing the arteries to gum up in the first place. And number two, give your body nutritional support that it can use to optimize its cardiovascular system. And towards that end, the recommendation would be one anti-aging healthy start pack, per 100 pounds of body weight per month, and you always want to round his weight up. So, you know, if he's 170, give him the 200-pound dose, right? If he's 120, give him a 150-pound dose, so forth and so on. It's one anti-aging healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, one bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, one bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, and one bottle of Ultimate Daily capsules, one bottle of Ultimate Dailies per 200 pounds of body weight per month. If he's over 250 pounds, I would give him 2 bottles of Ultimate Daily capsules a month. So the Ultimate Daily, the selenium, and the anti-aging healthy start pack is a most excellent place to start in his health recovery protocol to support and promote the structure and function of his coronary arteries. And he has to stop, of course, eating the 10 bad foods, and you can download that list for free by going to fireyourmdnow.com. That's fireyourmdnow.com, and signing up for the free newsletter right there on the front page. You probably have already done that. You probably already have the list. You really need to enforce in your father that if he continues to eat these foods, the problem is going to get worse. And use the metaphor of the diesel engine and kerosene. He'll get that. He'll understand that. There's also an audio CD that Dr. Wallach created. It's called Serial Killer. And you could also let him look at my free video online, Against the Grain. Either way, the recommendation is clean the diet up, load the body up with the appropriate nutritional supplements for his body weight, and let the healing begin. Thanks for calling. Thanks for waiting. I appreciate your patience. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. We did it again. I'm coming back at you tomorrow afternoon with another live broadcast of Fire Your MD Now. Until then, join longevity now. I'll see you around campus.